Well, thank you very much for the introduction, very rich introduction. Let me start by challenging the term Arab Spring. I tend to agree with President Gül that it is Arab revival rather than Arab Spring, which we have not reached yet. And the term revival does not mean that we were asleep, as you described it, but the people were cornered, oppressed, and the era of the military rule was still around, that started in the 50s of last century. And it was really a revolution. And here you mentioned or stressed the differences between countries in the Arab world. I want you to go deeper into this issue. Once a tragic but small incident took place in a remote village in Tunis, the whole Arab world started to revolt and to reject. And this showed that it's not a matter of difference between the Arab societies. The difference was between the Arab rulers, or at least some of them or several of them. They didn't see eye to eye. Perhaps chemistry didn't work, or several other reasons. But among the people, you see how all of us were affected by what happened in a remote village in Tunis, and then moving in a matter of days to Egypt, and then going beyond that in the Middle East. I want you to reconsider the importance of the differences within the Arab world. See the elements of unity in the Arab world, and that the revolution, as you said, Arab Spring, it is a revival in the Arab world. And this, I believe, has to be looked at from a different angle. The change. We are going through a serious and historic process of change. It's not a question of 5 or 6 years. It will be much less. We are moving quickly and not slowly to install democracy, to change the landscape, and to link up with the 21st century. In Egypt, we have succeeded recently in the last couple of weeks to agree on a roadmap, on a time frame, that by the end of June next year, all elections should come to an end, president be elected, and on the 1st of July, he should be sitting in his office. At the same time, we are talking about the possibility of drafting the Constitution in the next 3 or 4 months, and that could happen because there is a consensus on almost the majority of stipulations of articles, minus 3 or 4 points that should not take a long time to agree on. The presidential or a parliamentary system, the basic article on that the general principles of Sharia constitute the basic principle of laws. The church has accepted, the Azhar has accepted, political forces have accepted. Now it is for the final drafting or the final wording. Also the constitution of the parliament, whether farmers and workers should have 50%, as was stipulated in the last constitution, Mubarak's constitution, and the role of the army. Many of us don't think that this should take more than a month or 2. We'll see, but anyway, there is a time frame now, there is a roadmap, and the situation is far better than it has been before. Elections are taking place. Only the first phase, as you all know, is finished. We have 2 other phases coming up. So the final constitution of the parliament has not yet been decided. But it is clear that what you can call Islamic parties have the majority so far. But also several liberal figures have been elected. I predict that the next parliament will be an arena of serious discussion, real discussion among different currents, different ideologies, something that we didn't have for the last 60 years. And this is, in my opinion, a positive point, because what will emanate from that is either consensus or a serious discussion and decisions to be taken not only by the majority in the parliament, but that would translate the mood in the country. And the mood in the country is that Egypt will have to play its role as member of the international community in the 21st century. The macroeconomic outlook. In fact, what happened in Egypt caused a very serious defect in almost all the files, from education to healthcare to environment to the village, the city, the services, the farmer, you name it. So we'll have to rebuild our country. Not starting from scratch, but we have to do everything we can under the banner Rebuilding Egypt, with three major items, as I see them: democracy, reform, and economic and social development. Democracy, we are now aware that it is not a question of glass box and a camera and a queue and a big photo in the international newspapers that democracy has entered Egypt or entered this country. We take it more seriously than that. We mean by democracy that all the tenets of democracy, human rights, fundamental freedoms, the separation of powers, the independence of judiciary, and so on. And this, we will be very serious about attaining them. I am one of those who believe in that, and that we have to go directly to ensure that the basic meaning of democracy is being pursued. Reform, because of what I'm telling you about the defect that has really been the result of the mismanagement of the last regime. Reform will have to take place from day one, reforming the laws that have been enacted in a wrong way to promote the corruption and the cronies and so on. Reform is a priority item for the next regime, for the Second Republic of Egypt. And here, when I say Second Republic, it is a serious term. It is not a continuation of the previous republic, has nothing to do with it. It is a new republic based on electing, selecting the president, clean elections, moving forward on the basis of the basic principles that we all agree on. The economic and social development, it has to go together because of the very dangerous, serious social situation. So any economic plan will have to take into consideration the poverty in Egypt, which has a big percentage as a result of what I call full mismanagement of those files for the last 10 years at least, but the accumulation of wrongs, of mistakes in the last decades. Finally, the change, I agree with you that it will affect all countries. There will be different processes. The change in republics will be much deeper. Change in monarchies, especially the Gulf countries, where the citizen, the normal citizen, the simple citizen does not have the difficulties the simple citizen in the republics is suffering. But all of them feel that we all, Arab people with different generations, we have one task. We want to move together. We want to have our interaction, our world living better with more connections. I want to say here that the Arab League in the last couple of years or so tried, and successfully in fact, to chart, to discuss and adopt.
Arab League for a second round of discussion, can we?
Okay, fine.
I'll come back to that and ask you about that.
Thank you. In a way, we agreed on certain regional plans that would have benefited all of us. So the change from Morocco or from Mauritania to the Gulf will take place, is taking place now. No country will get out of that process. Syria, as you see, it is, in my opinion, it is a matter of time. Yemen, it is a matter of time. And the rest of changes will come, and the matter of time is not long, it will be short. If we meet here next year or the year after, the Middle East, the Arab world will not be the same.